The massive ships of the Krelzak darkened Earth's skies as they arrived without warning. Like a storm cloud made of metal and malice, they positioned themselves over major cities across the globe. Captain Park stood on the emergency command platform atop Seoul's military headquarters, binoculars trained upward at the enormous vessel that loomed overhead. Its surface rippled with an oily sheen, changing colors like the carapace of an exotic beetle. "Sir, you need to come inside," urged his aide. "Aerial defense says they're deploying something." Captain Park lowered his binoculars as the belly of the ship began to split open. "God help us all," he whispered. From the opening poured thousands of smaller craft, each carrying dozens of Krelzak warriors. Their bodies resembled praying mantises crossed with humans, six-limbed with 4 arms and 2 powerful legs. Their exoskeletons gleamed in metallic blues and purples under Seoul's sun. Most disturbing were their compound eyes that seemed to process everything at once, missing nothing. Inside the underground command center 20 stories below street level, Captain Park joined his team at the central tactical table. The holographic display showed red dots spreading across Seoul like a virus. Similar patterns played out across every major city on Earth. "What are we looking at, Lieutenant Kim?" he asked. Lieutenant Kim's fingers flew across his control panel, his face illuminated by the glow of multiple screens. "They've deployed some kind of signal disruptor. Our communications are failing, but more concerning," he pointed to a diagram of a tank that had suddenly stopped in the middle of the street. "They can remotely disable our electronic weapon systems." "How?" demanded Captain Park. "They're bypassing all our cybersecurity like it's nothing," reported Lieutenant Kim, his voice steady despite the chaos around their underground command center. "It's like they can speak directly to our machines." At that moment, the bunker shook violently. Dust rained from the ceiling. "Direct hit on Defense Ministry headquarters," called out a young officer from the communications station. "They're using some kind of energy weapon. Melts through concrete and steel like butter." Major Lee slammed her fist on the tactical table, scattering digital markers across the holographic map. "We've lost contact with the European coalition. Beijing reports similar failures." Her normally immaculate uniform was smudged with dust, a small cut on her forehead leaving a trail of dried blood down her temple. "What about the Americans, the Russians?" asked Captain Park. "Everyone's going dark, sir," said Lieutenant Kim quietly. One by one. On the streets above, civilians ran, in terror, as Krelzak ground forces deployed from their landing craft. They moved with unnatural coordination, as if controlled by a single mind. Their weapons fired beams of pulsing blue energy that could pierce armored vehicles. Most frightening was their silence. They communicated without sound, moving with the synchronized precision of ants. Over the next 72 hours, humanity learned the bitter taste of defeat. Military installations worldwide fell in coordinated strikes. Government leadership was captured or eliminated. The Krelzak established purification zones in major cities, areas where humans were processed and evaluated for various uses in the new regime. Yet amid this darkness, a small team of scientists huddled in the basement laboratory of Hanyang University Medical Center found something unusual. Dr. Choi hadn't slept in 3 days, her eyes red-rimmed as she studied tissue, samples taken from a dead Krelzak soldier recovered from a crashed scout ship. "Look at this reaction," she told her team of 5 remaining researchers. "The alien tissue degrades when exposed to this compound." Dr. Sun peered through the microscope. "What is that? Some kind of toxin?" "No." Dr. Choi shook her head, allowing herself the first smile in days. "It's melatonin, but with a unique molecular structure only found in prepubescent humans. Children's melatonin." The team gathered around her computer as she pulled up security footage from across the city. The pattern was subtle but unmistakable. The Krelzak invaders gave wide berth to schools, playgrounds, and other areas with high concentrations of children. "They're not avoiding children out of mercy," Dr. Choi explained, pointing to chemical analysis results. "There's something in children's biochemistry that disrupts their neural functions. Their hive mind relies on perfect synchronization. Children's biochemical signatures create noise in their system." Dr. Sun's eyes widened, "Like static on a radio." "Exactly," said Dr. Choi. "And look at this." She pulled up footage from a residential block. where a group of children had been playing when a Krelzak patrol passed by. The aliens had visibly slowed, their movements becoming jerky and uncoordinated until they moved away from the area. "It's first. It's strong enough to be weaponized?" asked Dr. Jin, the youngest researcher. "Not yet," Dr. Choi admitted, "but it gives us something to work with, a direction." A distant explosion rattled the lab equipment. The Krelzak were methodically destroying university buildings after extracting whatever knowledge they deemed valuable. "They'll be here soon," warned Dr. Sun, looking nervously at the ceiling. Dr. Choi quickly transferred all their findings to a small data drive and slipped it into her shoe. "This stays between us," she whispered to her team. "It may be our only advantage." As they prepared to evacuate through the underground maintenance tunnels, Dr. Choi looked one last time at the microscope displaying the deteriorating alien cells. For the first time since the massive ships had darkened Earth's skies, she felt something she thought had been destroyed forever. Hope. 3 months into the occupation, the ruins of what had once been Seoul's bustling Gangnam district served as a stark reminder of humanity's new reality. Krelzak patrol ships hummed overhead, their sleek bodies catching the afternoon sun as they scanned for unauthorized human gatherings. Below ground, deep in the forgotten maintenance tunnels of Line 9, 12-year-old Sue huddled with her younger brother among the resistance fighters. The abandoned subway station had become one of the few safe meeting places. Water dripped from cracked ceiling tiles, and emergency lights cast everything in a sickly yellow glow. The air smelled of mold and too many unwashed bodies crammed into too small a space. Sue watched the adults argue in hushed voices around a table covered with hand-drawn maps. Her father, once a respected physics teacher, now a ragged resistance fighter, pounded his fist in frustration. "It's impossible," he whispered harshly. "Every time we plan an attack on their supply depots, they know exactly where we'll be. 3 raids, 3 ambushes, we've lost 15 people this week alone." Sue's brother Jin tugged at her sleeve. "Show them," he urged. "Show them what we saw." Sue hesitated. At 12, she was used to adults ignoring her ideas, but something had been brewing in her mind for weeks now, observations that seemed too important to keep quiet. Gathering her courage, she approached the table of resistance leaders. "Excuse me," she said, her voice smaller than she intended. The adults continued their heated discussion until her father noticed her. "So, please, not now. Go back with the other children." "But I know why they keep finding you," she insisted. That got their attention. 6 pairs of tired, desperate eyes turned toward her. "They can't read us," she told the resistance leaders gathered in the abandoned subway station. "When adults plan something, the aliens know immediately. But when we children think of strategies, they seem confused." Captain Yoon, a former Special E Forces officer who'd lost his left arm in the initial invasion, scoffed. "What are you talking about, girl?" Sue stepped closer to the table. "Last week, when Mom was planning to sneak medicine from the hospital, 2 Krelzak were waiting for her before she even left home. But yesterday, when Jin and I decided to grab food from the distribution center, we changed our plan 3 times. On the spot, and they never caught us." Her father's brow furrowed. "That doesn't mean—" "She might be right," interrupted a quiet voice from the back of the room. Professor Bay emerged from the shadows, his wire-rimmed glasses held together. With tape. Once Korea's leading neuroscientist, he now spent his days studying the invaders. Often dissecting the rare dead Krelzak, the resistance managed to recover. "The electrical patterns are different," he explained, approaching the table. "Over the past month, I've been monitoring brainwave activities during Krelzak encounters." He pulled out a crumpled notebook filled with scrawled diagrams. "Their neural scanning technology evolved to process adult brainwaves. Children's developing minds operate on frequencies they can't interpret. It's like trying to tune a radio. To a station it wasn't designed to receive. All they get is static." A murmur rippled through the crowd as Professor Bay, who had studied the Krelzak's telepathic abilities, confirmed her theory. Captain Yoon looked skeptical. "You expect us to put children on the front line? Absolutely not." "Not on the front line," Sue's father said slowly, the spark of an idea dawning on his face. "But what if they become our strategists, our planners?" Within days, the the resistance reorganized. Adults remained the physical force, but children became the brains of the operation. In a hidden classroom beneath an abandoned school, 20 children ranging from 8 to 15 years old gathered around salvaged computers and hand-drawn maps. They planned supply raids, escape routes, and ambush points, information that was only shared with adult operatives minutes before execution, giving the Krelzak no time to scan and interpret their thoughts. 9-year-old Tay, whose fingers never seemed to stop moving, crouched in the corner with a collection of colorful string pebbles and chalk. Since the invasion, he hadn't spoken a word, traumatized after watching his parents disintegrated by Krelzak weapons. But his mind remained sharp. One afternoon, he tugged on Sue's sleeve and showed her his creation, a complex game of cats. Cradle combined with pebble placements, he demonstrated how moving the strings and stones in certain patterns could represent different locations and actions. It's a code, Sue realized, eyes widening. A communication system, young Tay, only 9 years old, devised a communication system using playground games that completely bypassed Krelzak surveillance. Children across the resistance cells learned to play Tay's game, transmitting critical information through what looked like innocent children's activities. The first major victory came when 3 resistance cells coordinated simultaneously to raid Krelzak food storage facilities. Not a single human was lost. The second came when children planned the rescue of 30 humans from a processing center, using routes that seemed illogical to adults but confounded the Krelzak patrol patterns. On the 30th day of their new strategy, Sue stood before a growing crowd of resistance members, her confidence no longer that of a timid 12-year-old. "We need more children," she announced. "There are thousands hiding in occupied zones. The Krelzak ignore them because they consider them non-threats. That's their mistake." Aboard the Krelzak command ship, hovering over what had once been the Presidential Blue House, Supreme Commander Krith Vex experienced something unfamiliar: confusion. The holodisplays before him showed resistance activity increasing by 43%, yet their predictive algorithms failed to anticipate human movements. "Explain," he demanded of his intelligence director, mandibles clicking in irritation. "Unknown factor. Disrupting patterns," came the response. "Humans changing strategies too frequently. No logic detectable." The invaders couldn't understand why their normally effective conquest was faltering. Their hive mind consciousness, so effective at predicting and countering logical adult behavior, found itself increasingly outmaneuvered by the seemingly random, constantly changing tactics designed by minds they couldn't read. What the Krelzak failed to comprehend was that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their technology or weapons. It was in their children, the next generation who now led the fight to reclaim their world, one playground game at a time. Deep beneath the ruins of Yonsei University's biomedical center, the underground laboratory hummed with tense energy. The air smelled of antiseptic and sweat as Dr. Han carefully transferred the final batch of clear liquid into specialized containers. 6 months of tireless work had led to this moment. Her hands, steady through countless surgeries in her previous life as one of Korea's top pediatric surgeons, now held humanity's best hope. "The compound is ready," announced Dr. Han, looking at the clear liquid synthesized from children's enzymatic markers. She held up a vial to the light, its contents shimmering with a faint bluish glow. Exactly as the simulations predicted. Around the circular lab table stood an unlikely team: 3 world-class scientists and 4 teenagers. The youngest, Jin, had turned 16 last week, a birthday celebrated with a single candle stuck in a protein bar. His eyes, reflecting wisdom far beyond his years, studied the compound with intense focus. "Will it really work?" asked Moon, a 14-year-old girl who had been smuggling medical supplies through Krelzak checkpoints for months. Dr. Choi nodded. "The tests confirm it. When the compound vaporizes, it creates a particulate that mimics the neural disruptive effect of children's brain patterns, but magnified 100-fold. Jin picked up one of the specialized disbursement devices they'd spent weeks designing. It looked like an ordinary toy, a small plastic robot that could easily be mistaken for a child's plaything. "And they won't detect these?" he asked. "Their scanners look for adult biosignatures and metals," explained Professor Bay, adjusting his taped glasses. "These are made from special polymers and carry a child's biological marker. To their sensors, they'll register as nothing more threatening than a child's forgotten toy." Young Jin, the 16-year-old who had helped perfect the formula, nodded solemnly. "Operation Sprout begins tonight." The name had been his idea, something hopeful, something that spoke of new beginnings rather than endings. They weren't seeking to destroy the Krelzak. They were hoping to transform them. As the team finalized preparations, a distant rumble shook dust from the ceiling. The Krelzak were demolishing another section of the city, converting it to their alien architecture, strange hexagonal structures that seemed to pulse with an inner light. That night, as the twin moons rose over Earth's transformed landscape, hundreds of children moved through the shadows of occupied cities worldwide. They carried backpacks filled with the disguised disbursement devices, their faces solemn with purpose. Unlike adults, whose minds were constantly scanned by Krelzak surveillance technology, the children moved almost invisibly through the night. In Seoul, Jin led a team of 5 through the back alleys toward the central Krelzak command center, a massive structure that had once been City Hall. Its elegant architecture was now fused with alien technology, tendrils of metallic material wrapping around concrete and glass like parasitic vines. "Remember," Jin whispered to his team as they crouched behind a burnt-out vehicle, "we need to place the devices near their ventilation intakes. The compound has to reach their central air systems." Across the globe, children deployed the compound through ventilation systems in Krelzak structures. The aliens had never considered children a threat, so their security focused on detecting adult intruders. In London, a 10-year-old girl crawled through maintenance tunnels. In Cairo, twin brothers climbed external cooling units. In Sydney, a teenage girl who had once been a championship swimmer used underwater access points to infiltrate the harbour command ship. Jin watched as the youngest member of his team, a girl no more than 11, slipped through a narrow opening in the Krelzak security perimeter. His heart hammered against his ribs as she disappeared from view, counting the seconds until she emerged again, flashing a thumbs-up sign. One by one, the children completed their missions and melted back into the shadows. By dawn, over 300 disbursement devices had been placed in Krelzak installations worldwide. The children retreated to their hidden bases, waiting and watching. The effect was not immediate. For the first day, nothing seemed to change. The towering insectoid warriors continued their patrols, 6-limbed and menacing. Their ship still darkened the skies, but on the second day, resistance observers noted something strange. A patrol of Krelzak warriors stopped mid-route, their movements becoming erratic. One fell to its knees, mandibles clicking rapidly. Others began moving in circles as if lost. By the third day, the effect was remarkable. Within days, the once fearsome warriors became docile, their aggressive instincts neutralized by the human children's biochemical signature. Krelzak dropped their weapons. Patrol ships landed clumsily or hovered in place without purpose. The hive mind command structure was disintegrating as the compound interfered with their neural network, creating the same static that children's minds naturally produced, but on a catastrophic scale. Dr. Han monitored the readings from a hidden observation post. "It's working better than we predicted," she told Professor Bay as they watched a group of Krelzak warriors standing motionless in a park. "The compound is breaking their connection to the hive mind. But what happens when the connection is completely severed?" Professor Bay wondered aloud. "Will they die?" Their question was answered on the 7th day, when the massive mothership that had remained stationary above what had once been the Pacific Ocean began to descend. Global communications, pieced together through the resistance network, confirmed that similar ships worldwide were doing the same. Jin stood with Sue on a hilltop outside Seoul, watching as the enormous shadow of the regional command ship slowly lowered toward the former Olympic Stadium. Its surface rippled with changing colors, no longer the aggressive reds and blacks of conquest, but softer blues and purples. "They're surrendering," Sue whispered in disbelief. The ship's landing sent tremors through the ground. A great hatch opened, and from it emerged a figure unlike any Krelzak seen before. Nearly twice the size of the warriors, with an elongated head crowned with sensory antennae and 4 wings. Folded against its back, the Krelzak queen moved with deliberate grace down the extended ramp. The queen requested a meeting with human leaders. In the ruins of the United Nations headquarters in Geneva, representatives of Earth's remaining governments gathered to face the being who had orchestrated their near destruction. "Our species faces biological extinction," she communicated through a translator device. Her mental voice, transmitted to the humans, carried notes of both awe and fear. "The compound you have deployed severs our connection to the collective consciousness. Without it, we cannot function, we cannot reproduce, we cannot survive." She lowered her great head in a gesture that needed no translation. "We submit to human authority." Jin, representing the children who had turned the tide of war, stepped forward. "We don't want your extinction," he said, his young voice echoing in the cavernous hall. "We want peace." The Queen's compound eyes studied him, multifaceted surfaces reflecting his image 1,000 times over. "You children," she said with what sounded almost like wonder, "are unlike any species we have encountered in our 1,000 years of conquest. You have defeated us not with weapons, but with the very essence of your being." 6 months after the surrender, the skyline of Seoul was transforming. Where Krelzak war machines had once towered menacingly, new structures rose, buildings that blended human architecture with the organic flowing lines of alien design. The morning sun glinted off the crystalline dome of what would become the city's first hybrid school, its construction ahead of schedule, thanks to the tireless efforts of Krelzak workers. Professor Yoon leaned against his cane, watching a team of the insectoid aliens carefully raise a massive support beam into place. Their movements were perfectly synchronized, 4 arms working in harmony as they communicated through subtle antenna vibrations. One of them, distinguishable by blue markings across its carapace, noticed the professor's interest and tilted its head in acknowledgement. "They actually seem happy now," remarked Professor Yoon as he observed the Krelzak workers constructing a new school. "If you told me a year ago that I'd be standing here watching our former conquerors building schools rather than weapons platforms, I'd have said you were insane." Dr. Choi smiled, the dark circles under her eyes testament to the countless hours she'd spent refining the integration compound. "The modified formula did more than we expected. It didn't just break their hive connection, it rewired it. Their reward centers now activate when they help human children." A small group of children had gathered at the construction site's edge, watching with fascination. A girl of about 8 cautiously approached the blue-marked Krelzak, holding up a drawing. The alien set down its tools and crouched to examine the artwork, mandibles moving gently in what the humans had come to recognize as their version of pleasure. "Look at that," Professor Yoon said softly. Not a hint of fear from either side. The decision to integrate rather than destroy the defeated aliens had been controversial, but the modified compound created an unexpected symbiosis. The Krelzak developed a biological imperative to protect human children. In the early days after the surrender, there had been calls for retribution, demands to eradicate the species that had caused so much destruction. Military leaders had argued for weaponizing the Krelzak, using them as controlled soldiers. But it had been the children, led by those who orchestrated Operation Sprout, who advocated most strongly for integration. "They're not evil," Jin had told the Emergency World Council. "They're just different, and now they can be better." At the new International Coordination Center, built in the heart of Busan, young Su stood before a wall of screens displaying integration projects from around the world. At 19, he'd grown from the soft-spoken boy who had helped synthesize the compound into a confident young man who now headed humanity's most ambitious diplomatic initiative. "Paris is reporting 98% neural adaptation in their Krelzak population," reported his assistant. "The hive connections are reforming, but with the modified pathways intact." Young Su nodded, studying the brain scan data. The Krelzak hive mind, once their greatest weapon, was becoming their greatest gift in their new relay. A worker in Australia could share the joy of helping a child with the entire colony, reinforcing the positive neural pathways across their species. Later that day, young Sue, now heading the integration program, explained to world leaders gathered for their monthly briefing. They're not slaves. They've found a new purpose. Their biology now rewards them for nurturing and protecting our children. He displayed 3D models showing the altered Krelzak brain structure. When they help a human child learn or grow, their neural pathways light up with pleasure signals more powerful than anything they experienced as conquerors. It's not mind control, it's symbiosis. The Prime Minister of India leaned forward. And they accept this change. There's no resistance. On the contrary, young Sue responded. They embrace it. The Queen, Guardian Song as she now calls herself, says their species had lost its way. Endless conquest had become their only purpose, but it brought no fulfillment. In orbit above Earth, the transformation was even more dramatic. The massive Krelzak motherships, once weapons of planetary destruction, were being repurposed. Workers removed weapons arrays and installed observatory domes and classroom pods. Former warships became educational centers, where Krelzak taught human children about cosmic sciences. On the flagship vessel, now renamed New Dawn, a group of 12 children floated in zero gravity, guided by a patient Krelzak instructor. Its exoskeleton, once battle-scarred and intimidating, now bore colorful markings painted by its young students. The stellar nursery you see before you, the Krelzak explained, gesturing with its upper limbs toward the massive viewing portal, is where new stars are born from cosmic dust. The children gasped as the ship's advanced optics magnified the distant nebula, showing swirls of purple and blue cosmic clouds. "How many worlds have you visited?" asked a wide-eyed boy. The Krelzak's antennae twitched, a sign of contemplation. 347 worlds capable of supporting life. Yours is the 348th. And did you fight them all? A small girl asked. The Krelzak's compound eyes dimmed slightly. Yes, that was our way, but no longer. At the United Nations headquarters, rebuilt with Krelzak assistance in record time, Guardian Song addressed the General Assembly. Her massive form, nearly 3 meters tall with wings that shimmered with iridescent colors, commanded attention without inspiring fear. Where her ancestors had worn battle armor adorned with trophies from conquered worlds, she now wore a simple garment embedded with symbols of peace from cultures across Earth. "We were warriors without purpose," Guardian Song told the United Nations. "Assembly," her translated voice flowing through the hall. "Now we are guardians with meaning." She extended her forearms in a gesture encompassing the entire chamber. "For millennia, my species conquered because we knew nothing else. Our hive mind grew stagnant, focused only on expansion without purpose. We measured success in worlds taken, not wisdom gained." One of the human children who had been instrumental in Operation Sprout, now serving as a junior ambassador, stepped onto the stage beside her. The size difference was striking. A small human girl next to the towering former conqueror, yet there was no fear as the child reached up and the Queen lowered one of her hands to touch palms. "Your children have given us the greatest gift possible," Guardian Song continued. "They have shown us a new way to exist. In protecting them, in teaching them, in helping them grow, we have found joy our species had forgotten could exist." Behind them, a holographic display showed Krelzak across the globe, engaging with human communities. They built homes and schools, taught children about advanced sciences, used their technological knowledge to help clean Earth's polluted waters and skies. Their ships, once harbingers of doom, now served as transports and research vessels. "This is not the end of our story," Guardian Song concluded. "It is merely the beginning of a new chapter, one we will write together, not as conquerors and conquered, but as fellow travelers among the stars." As the assembly erupted in applause, a small Krelzak worker watching the broadcast from a construction site in Seoul felt the ripple of emotion through the reformed hive connection. Its mandibles clicked in contentment as it turned back to its work helping to build a world where both species could thrive together. The expedition ship New Dawn sliced through the darkness between stars, its hybrid design reflecting the unique partnership of its creators. Once a Krelzak war vessel, Its predatory angles had been softened with human aesthetic touches. Observation domes, garden pods, and children's quarters, where the next generation of explorers watched the universe unfold before them on the yawn. Command deck. Ambassador Jun adjusted his ceremonial collar, remembering when he was just 12-year-old Jin, hiding in Seoul's underground tunnels during the invasion. Now 40, his face bore the dignified lines of a man who had helped reshape history. Beside him stood Protector Do, a Krelzak guardian who had been with him for 20 years. Do's exoskeleton gleamed with the blue-green markings of a senior guardian, his forearms decorated with friendship bands woven by Jun's own children. "The Galactic Council vessel is approaching," announced the navigation officer. "They're requesting visual confirmation before escorting us to Harmonious Station." Jun nodded. "Open the channel." The view screen flickered to life, revealing a being, unlike any they had encountered in their exploration, humanoid but with translucent skin through which pulsed gentle blue light. Its eyes, 3 in triangular formation, widened visibly at the sight of the bridge crew. "Human vessel," the being spoke, its voice melodious yet tense. "Your transmission is concerning. Please verify your crew complement." Jun stepped forward. "This is Ambassador Jun of Earth. Our crew includes both humans and Krelzak. We come in peace seeking dialogue with the Galactic Council." The being's skin flashed with pulses of alarmed orange. "Stand by," it said abruptly before the screen went dark. Protector Do's antennae twitched nervously. "They recognize our species," he clicked softly. "Their reaction suggests prior contact." 3 tense hours later, the New Dawn docked at an enormous space station that resembled a crystalline lotus flower, each petal housing representatives from different worlds. Jun marveled at the diversity visible through the viewport, beings of gas and light, crystalline entities, and creatures that seemed to phase between physical states. 20 years later, the human Krelzak joint expedition ship New Dawn made first contact with the Galactic Council. Ambassador Jun led the delegation, accompanied by his Krelzak guardian, Protector Do. Behind them followed a carefully selected team, scientists, diplomats, and, significantly, 3 human teenagers with their Krelzak guardians, living proof of the partnership they represented. As they entered the council chamber, a cavernous space with a central platform surrounded by tiered seating filled with hundreds of different species, a hushed murmur rippled through the assembly. The council representatives recoiled at the sight of the Krelzak. Several representatives stood in alarm. Others activated personal shields, and one gaseous entity condensed protectively. At the center of the chamber, 5 beings representing the council's leadership formed a semicircle. The tallest, a graceful entity composed of swirling light contained within a vaguely humanoid form, stepped forward. "Who you bring destroyers among us?" asked the council elder, a luminous being from an ancient species. Its voice resonated directly in their minds, carrying layers of fear and disbelief. "The scourge of 1,000 worlds walks freely alongside your young." Jun felt the tension radiating from every corner of the chamber. Their briefings had prepared them for many reactions, but not this level of recognition and fear. Jun stepped forward. "They are our protectors and friends." "Impossible," rumbled a massive silicon-based being to the elder's right. "The Krelzak do not form alliances. They conquer or they destroy. There is no middle path in their hive mind." One of the human teenagers, Hana, a gifted xenobiologist despite her 16 years, stepped forward. Her guardian, a younger Krelzak with vibrant purple markings, moved protectively close. "May I demonstrate?" she asked, her voice steady despite the pressure of hundreds of alien eyes upon her. The elder hesitated, then nodded. Hana turned to her guardian and placed her palm against the Krelzak's extended limb. A soft blue glow emanated from the point of contact. "This is our bond," she explained, "their biology and ours in harmony." The council chamber erupted with astonished murmurs as sensing equipment throughout the hall registered the biochemical interaction occurring between human and Krelzak. The council revealed that the Krelzak had been the galaxy's most feared conquerors for millennia, destroying hundreds of developing civilizations. Only the most advanced council worlds had been able to repel them. For 12,000 years, explained a crystalline entity whose voice chimed like bells, the Krelzak have been the terror of emerging worlds. Their hive mind made them unstoppable, a perfect conquering force that shared knowledge instantly across their collective. 273 species have been driven to extinction by their fleets. The Elder's light dimmed slightly. We thought Earth would be the 274th. Our observers noted their arrival in your system, but determined non-interference was our only option. The pattern was always the same, total conquest within a standard year. Ambassador John listened in growing amazement. The history they had pieced together from Guardian Song's memories hadn't revealed the full scale of the Krelzak's destructive past. Yet you have transformed them, marveled the Elder, its light brightening as it approached Protector Doe. With biochemistry rather than weapons, the Elder extended a tendril of light, which Doe allowed to touch his exoskeleton. I sense it now, the change in their neural pathways. The hive mind remains, but its purpose. The Elder withdrew, light pulsating rapidly. Its purpose is protection rather than conquest. Jun explained the story of Earth's resistance, Operation Sprout, and the subsequent integration. As he spoke, holographic displays around the chamber showed images from Earth. Children learning in classrooms, while Krelzak teachers demonstrated principles of quantum mechanics. Krelzak guardians helping at playgrounds. The massive ships that once brought terror now serving as schools and hospitals. We did not seek to destroy them, Jun concluded. We sought to find a better way forward. Together, the Council deliberated for hours, examining the biochemical evidence, interviewing members of the Earth delegation, and conducting deep scans of the Krelzak neural networks. When they reconvened, the atmosphere in the chamber had transformed, from fear to cautious wonder. In 12 millennia of Council records, the Elder announced, we have never witnessed such a profound transformation of a species' core nature. What your world has accomplished may change the very foundation of our approach to dangerous species. In the days that followed, the Earth delegation was welcomed with growing enthusiasm. Other Council species shared stories of Krelzak aggression, of worlds lost and civilizations destroyed. With each tale, the magnitude of Earth's accomplishment became clearer. As human children grew into adults with devoted Krelzak guardians by their side, a new culture emerged in the solar system. Earth became legendary as the world where children tamed the most feared species in the galaxy, not through force, but through a quirk of human biology and the wisdom to choose integration over vengeance. Before the new dawn departed, the Council bestowed upon Earth a rare honor, the status of protected crucible world, recognizing its unique contribution to galactic peace. Additionally, they offered Earth membership in the Galactic Council, an honor typically reserved for species with at least 1,000 years of interstellar travel. Your species has demonstrated wisdom beyond your technological development, the Elder told Jun as they stood in the observation dome, watching the swirl of stars beyond. You faced extinction and responded not with hatred, but with innovation, not with destruction, but with transformation. Jun smiled, thinking of his own children back on Earth, who had never known a world without their Krelzak protectors. We almost chose another path, but in our darkest hour, we listened to our children. The small human world and its unlikely guardians took their place among the stars, forever changing the galaxy's understanding of strength. As the new dawn broke orbit and engaged its engines for the journey home, Jun stood watching the Council, Station Recede Protector, Do by his side. They had come seeking allies and knowledge, but had given the galaxy something far more valuable, hope that even the most fearsome enemy could become the most devoted friend. The Endi.